Hi, I'm Dave Despain. Welcome to Motorweek Illustrated. The 1983 racing season is in high gear, and we've got highlights today of all of last weekend's action, plus a look at tomorrow's long-delayed IndyCar opener at Atlanta International Raceway. Now, let's begin with a visit to venerable Darlington Raceway in South Carolina and last Sunday's Trans-South 500 for Winston Cup stock cars. The action was fast and furious, and our Ned Jarrett was there.
Well, Tim Richmond charged to the front when the green flag dropped, but his lead didn't last too long as the engine let go in his Pontiac as he went into turn 3. 10 cars were involved. 3 other cars besides Tim Richmond were out of the race. Benny Parsons, Terry Labonte, and Dave Marcus. The others were able to make repairs and continue on even though they were out of contention for the rest of the day. Jeff Bodine then took up the lead in the car number 88 and pulled away until Joe Ruttman began to pull in on car number 98. Those were the 2 dominant drivers in the first half of the race, even though Bobby Allison led at one point in his Miller car number 22, but the power steering went out on it. He lost about 11 laps and was out of it for the day. Then Jeff Bodine moved back out in front in the Gatorade car number 88. Looked like he might win his first NASCAR Winston Cup race, but Darrell Waltrip began to make his move in car number 11. He hasn't won so far this year, and he is hungry for the victory. He moved in on Bodine and moved around and took the lead. Waltrip began to move away, but all of them had another pit stop to make, and when I say all of them, that meant Waltrip, Bodine, and Harry Gant, who was closing in, running third. Bodine made his pit stop first, took on the gasoline. That forced the others to do that also. They had about 20 laps to go, but Bodine should have changed tires because he went into the first turn, the right front let go, and into the wall he went, and into the wall went his chances of winning his first NASCAR Winston Cup race. So after that caution, less than 15 laps remained. Waltrip beat Gant out of the pits and looked like he was going to win his first race of the season. But after they took the white flag, something went wrong with his Chevrolet number 11. Gant passed him and went on to his first win of the 1983 season. Waltrip did hang on for second place. Finishing in third was Mark Martin, his best finish ever in a NASCAR Winston Cup race. Coming home in fourth place was Ricky Rudd in car number 3. Bill Elliott came home in fifth place. For Motorweek Illustrated, this is Ned Jarrett reporting from the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina.
Well, NASCAR officials caught winner Gant, pole sitter Tim Richmond, and Winston Cup point leader Neil Bonnet with illegal fueling cans at Darlington, while Ricky Rudd had an oversized fuel cell. All those violations found before the race, the drivers were fined, no disqualifications. Up the road in North Carolina, meanwhile, the All-Pro Stars invaded Caraway Speedway for a 100-mile affair. 31 cars came off turn 4 of this half mile to take the green flag, and the Freddie Fryer fans on hand really got their money's worth. Starting from the pole, number 14 jumped into a lead he was destined to hold all day long. Not sharing in Fryer's good fortune, Grand National moonlighter Morgan Shepherd out with a major oil hemorrhage. Big pileup 1/4 of the way through this race, bent a lot of metal, and that left clear sailing for Fryer, who cruised the last 140 laps to win. First time in history anyone has led an all-pro main event flag to flag. Congratulations, Freddie. Meanwhile, get well wishes today to our stock car reporter, 2-time Grand National champ Ned Jarrett. Ned's been hospitalized with a ruptured appendix since he filed his Darlington report. Now, I know a lot of you are Ned Jarrett fans. You can drop him a get well line at P.O. Box 564, Conover, North Carolina, 28613. Ned, we hope to see you back in front of the Motorweek camera again real soon. The International Motorsports Association staged a quadruple header last weekend at Road Atlanta. Jim Roller reports on all the action, beginning with a surprise-filled Camel GT Challenge.
1983 in IMSA has been a wide-open season thus far, but here at Road Atlanta, Doc Bundy and Pepe Romero's Pink Marsh is glad to be on the pole.
This is my first IMSA pole, and thinking back, this is my first pole since my Little D production races. It feels great.
That pole position notwithstanding, Bundy was looking over his shoulder for another hometown favorite, 1982 Camel GT champion John Paul Jr., who had qualified at dismal 8th. At the start, Bundy didn't let any grass grow under his pink number 47. He quickly sprinted to the front. But by lap 7, Paul had moved his baby blue number 1 into the lead. They swapped back and forth until problems befell both. First, Paul had a wing support collapse. Then Bundy's co-driver, Pepe Romero, went off course at turn 11. With those two dropping back, Bob Tullius and Bill Adam in their Jaguar number 44 were battling for the lead with the number 88 march of Emery Donaldson and Bill Whittington. That battle raged for the rest of the race. Then, with 49 laps left, showers sent the team scrambling for rain tires. It was then that Bill Adam was keeping his fingers crossed that the Jaguars' year of bad luck would finally come to an end.
it's weighing very heavily on all our minds, and we're very pleased with the car's development to date, and it's showing again that it's a really good car and a good design. And if it stays together, if the racing luck holds for us and nobody else crashes into us, I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Over the last 20 laps, Tullius and Adam never lost the lead, although Lady Luck almost bit them again. Late in the race, a rock punctured their radiator, causing overheating. With the Jaguar forced to slow to save its engine, Whittington closed within 17 seconds when the battered Jag took the checkered flag. After a year of struggling with a car that many maligned, it was a very happy moment for Adams and Tullius.
There's just no expressing the way I feel right now. I'm so happy, and I feel so good for the crew. As I say, they have worked so hard, and today is a day for them. Everything worked beautifully. No complaints at all.
Well, we've raced a lot in club racing, and this kind of a victory means a great deal because it establishes us as a prominent force in motorsports in this country. I've always known we were. This tells the tale.
Gianpiero Moretti takes third in his second outing since returning to IMSA competition, and that GTO winner is the same Porsche 934 that won the Sebring overall title. In the Kelly American Challenge season opener, Tommy Riggins made them all look bad. Then IMSA officials found out why. A very trick and illegal engine. Riggins lost his $3,500 purse, then was fined. Irv Hare got the win, while top finishing female Patty Muiz was also disqualified. Her engine was Riggins built. The inaugural 1983 Renault Cup race promised to be another competitive battle. 45 cars took the green flag behind pole winner Steve Coleman on a wet and muddy track. The action was hard-hitting most of the way, like this tangle that eliminated top woman driver Lou Ann Santin. Number 80, Willie Lewis, set the early pace, but was soon pressured by Kurt Rohrig in the red number 04. On the last lap, Rohrig took the lead and held on for a close victory. Now, Motorweek's Jerry Garrett was involved in this one. He was running in the top 20, but then crashed trying to avoid 3 cars that had spun in front of him. He ended up 37th. In the weekend's Champion Spark Plug Challenge, everyone expected a race dominated by Mazda, but Joe Vardy and his blue Dodge took the early lead, then faced a challenge from Dave Frelson's Nissan Sentra number 93 and series point leader Amos Johnson in his Mazda number 7. Mechanical problems dropped those two off the pace, leaving Dennis Shaw and Bill Johnson to take up the chase. They faded when the kill switch was hit during a pit stop, leaving them parked at turn 1 until the problem was figured out. No one could match the pace set by Vardy. He pulled off the Ironman run, winning the 3-hour event on his own. That's the first victory for Vardy since switching to the Charger, and it was a big celebration in Victory Lane. The highest Mazda finisher, that turned out to be Dave Jolly in third. From Road Atlanta in Brazelton, Georgia, this is Jim Roller.
Well over 200 cars took part in that big weekend of racing, and Roger Bailey, IMSA's head tech inspector, had the mind-boggling chore of making sure they were all legal. Roger outdid himself, particularly in the Kelly American class, where he ferreted out that host of violations, including the very sophisticated disguise of the illegal engine dreamed up by last year's IMSA Mechanic of the Year, the Kelly American winning driver on Sunday, Tommy Riggins. Tommy was disqualified. Somebody's got to keep things legal and fair out there, and so we're giving this week's Behind the Scenes Award to Roger Bailey, IMSA Tech Inspector, for a job well done at Road Atlanta. Well, the prospect of a record entry for the 1983 Indy 500 didn't pan out. 93 cars signed up by last Friday's deadline. More than 20 rookie entries were received, but only 10 showed up for the required rookie orientation tests run earlier this week. Obviously, not all those who aspire to Indianapolis fame can get the necessary equipment together, and of the 10 who did show up, none set the world on fire. The veterans have been over 200 miles an hour. Steve Chassie was fastest this week at 190. He's not really a rookie. He passed his test in 81, but didn't make the race. Al Unser Jr., the Can-Am champ, whose father has won the 500 3 times, won 133 laps and never got over 183 miles an hour. He said he was so in awe of the place he couldn't concentrate. By the time he got his own head together, the car was acting up. We'll bet that Al Jr. will be faster than that by the end of May. The World Endurance Championship is the battleground of some of the world's most exotic race cars. An exclusive report on the season's opener and other international racing news when Motor Week continues. It's supposed to be a Formula One learning experience for Kentuckian Danny Sullivan. But in last weekend's Race of Champions, the young American showed a lot of veterans how it's done and almost pulled off a major upset. Although this race doesn't pay points toward the world title, it still attracts all the top stars. Here's K.K. Rosberg, reigning world champion, and out of retirement after a year, 1980 world champ Alan Jones. John Watson, winner of the recent Long Beach Grand Prix, spearheads the Team McLaren effort, and America's hopes ride on the shoulders of sixth fastest qualifier Sullivan. But a lot of attention was focused on rookie Scandinavian driver Stefan Johansson. He's a Formula 2 standout of a year ago, and he has the honor of debuting the long-awaited Honda Turbo Formula 1 car. The Japanese mark re-entering the Grand Prix wars after a 15-year sabbatical. At the green flag, the Cosworth-powered Williams of Rosberg jumped to the lead. There's the Honda, and Johansson stuck back in the pack. Early in the race, René Arnoux moved his turbocharged Ferrari around Rosberg and into the lead, but the little Frenchman was charging too hard for his tires, and he soon found Rosberg, Sullivan, and Jones playing freight train with him at 150 miles an hour. Arnoux just couldn't keep Rosberg behind him. The champ takes an inside line on the ill-handling Ferrari and moves back in front. Sullivan followed suit shortly thereafter, and that opened the door for a memorable battle between the sport's top name and the American rookie hopeful. Sullivan and Rosberg, no strangers. They used to battle in the American Can-Am Series, but despite a late tire problem of his own, Rosberg's experience enabled him to hold on and win by 1 length. Great performance by Sullivan, and that's a strong comeback run for Alan Jones. Meanwhile, historic Monza, Italy, hosting the World Endurance Championship opener. Defending champ Jackie Ickx leading a 2-car Porsche assault. The challenge comes from the new space-aged Ferrari-powered Lancia Group C car. This all-Italian effort headed by Formula 1 stars Michele Alboreto and Riccardo Patrese. And this Porsche 956 is driven by the Daytona 24-hour winner Bob Wallach. At the start, the second Lancia team car, Piercarlo Ghinzani and Teo Fabi grabbed the lead ahead of Derek Bell and Al Holbert and the other team Porsche. But by the end of the first lap, Ickx, teamed with Jochen Mass, moved into second place. Then on lap 8, disaster strikes the leaders. The Lancia blows a tire. Ickx moves into the lead, and as the crippled car limps back to the pits, the tire flies off the rim. Derek Bell has to do some fancy evasive moves. With the Italian frontrunner out of contention, it becomes a 3-way Porsche battle. Ickx out front, Bell chased by Wallach, who eventually moved his orange and white privateer entry into second place. Then trouble for the leader. These cars get a limited supply of fuel. To run up front, Ickx was burning his too fast. He and Moss had to slow in order to finish the 1,000 kilometers distance. That opened the door for Bob Wallach and co-driver Thierry Boutsen, who were able to keep the hammer down all the way as Ickx and Moss fell a full minute behind. At the checkers, Wallach took his second big victory of the year and his first of the World Endurance campaign, whipping all the factory heavyweights. Elsewhere, motorcycle racing, Californian Alex Jorgensen came back from a bad start and won the Camel Pro Series TT race at Ascot Park for the second straight year. Runner-up Eklund held on to the series point lead, and that series is on the Mile Oval at Sacramento, California tonight. Highlights next week. Also in California, Wrangler Super Series of Motocross, 125cc action. Number 4, Johnny O'Mara, and teenage rookie Ron Lachine lead class champ number 1, Mark Barnett and Jeff Ward. That battle raged all day long. The high-flying O'Mara soared to eventual victory, his first of the 1983 campaign. They call this kid Johnny O, and O'Mara is among the American Motorcyclist Association stars doing Supercross battle in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas this weekend. Sunday's results, Lachine with an impressive 3rd, Barnett an uncharacteristic 4th. No surprise in the 250 class, Bob Hurricane Hanno wins again. Rick Johnson best of the rest. And in the 500 class, Yamaha gets its first win of the year with Glover. Danny Chandler, the point leader going in, disqualified for cutting the course. On the international scene, American Kenny Roberts won Europe's richest motorcycle road race at Imola, Italy on Sunday. His Yamaha teammate, fellow Californian Eddie Lawson, 3rd. That race marred by a crash that took the life of Italian racer Guido Paci. Let's turn now to the sport of boat drag racing. And to put this in perspective, we need to look at the results first. In California last Sunday, Eddie Hill, the winner. The speed is the issue here. 200 miles an hour racing on water, and it proved deadly. Barry Zanovka was fatally injured when his boat crashed, and then this frightening mishap. That's Randy Ahn, whose machine goes out of control, turns right, flies into the crowd. On was thrown clear, but 3 spectators and the driver were hurt, none critically. Let's hope that the powers of boat drag racing can get a handle on the safety problem. As you can see, taking a look at this, it was a scary moment. That's much too neat a sport to get a reputation for being too dangerous to run. Irvine Lake has become a real hotbed of boat racing. There were 20,000 fans on hand Sunday, and despite this near disaster, they saw a lot of good racing. That racing included one motorsport we've never seen before on Motorweek, oval track water ski racing. This is something else. These guys cutting a trail at roughly 100 miles an hour. Here's a look at how they finished in that portion of Sunday's competition. The 1983 kart PPG IndyCar World Series is finally set to begin. The scheduled opener at Phoenix International was flooded out, so tomorrow's Craco-sponsored 200-miler at Atlanta International Raceway becomes the opener. Jerry Garrett has a report.
We're here at Atlanta International Raceway for the opening of the championship auto racing team season. And with me is kart president John Frasco. Now, John, it seems like maybe the weather hasn't cooperated to get you started on this season as much as it could have.
Well, of course, you know, we had some bad luck in Phoenix, and we had to cancel that. But this is a bad day today. But it's all sunshine behind us.
Now, the forecast for the season is pretty good too for kart.
Oh, I think so. I think that we got a lot of exciting things this year and even more next year. So things are looking good, and I think the race teams are all ready to go. It's going to be much more competitive this year than it's ever been. I'm really anxious to see how it turns out.
How much money is involved from the competitors this season?
Probably talking about $4.5 to $5 million.
It's a far cry from what it was when he got underway a couple of years ago.
Well, I can remember a couple of years ago we were worried about putting a race schedule of 5 or 6 races together, and nobody really cared what the prize money was. And now we got a pretty solid schedule, and a lot of companies that are getting more involved. A lot of new companies are coming in, and I'm really pleased with the progress.
Big money is being pumped into IndyCar racing for 83. There are more megabuck teams around this season than any year in memory. And what a lineup of expensive machinery. Marches, Penske's, Lolas, Eagles, Wildcats, all different, each one an alleged world beater. Round nose, shovel nose, needle nose. Which one is the hot setup? We asked 2-time national champ Tom Sneva.
Well, I suppose we're going to know when the checkered flag flies on Sunday, but, you know, I'm not so sure that the shape of that nose is as critical as some people make it out to be. I think it's more the shape of the bottom of the car rather than the shape of the nose, and, you know, but if you can get people thinking it's the shape of the nose, you disguise the other tricks from them, and it might help you.
Today's qualifying gives us a hint of who's tough. For a peek at the lineup, let's go back to the studio and Kevin Christopher.
Rick Mears, the defending kart champion, has put his Penske on the pole at AIR at 204.983 miles per hour. Johnny Rutherford and Gordon Johncock were next fastest. Now, tomorrow's NHRA Summer Nationals at Atlanta Dragway boasts one of the most competitive fields ever. And funny car standout Kenny Bernstein has a clue on who's to beat in his class.
Well, you've got, again, 8 or 9 cars that are capable. The one car I think that is on top of the pack has been for the last 2 years is the Frank Holly Chi-Town Hustler car. Many people haven't heard of that car, but it won the World Championship last year, and it's won the first 2 races of this season. So you've got to look at that car as that. We've got to stop him in order, or he's going to be back in the winner's circle again.
NASCAR Grand National point leader Neil Bonnet has the pole position for Sunday's Northwestern Bank 400. And finally, Frenchman Alain Prost has the pole for tomorrow's French Grand Prix.
Last year, John Buffum debuted a 4-wheel drive Audi Quattro at the Nor'Wester Rally in Washington, and that changed the face of American rallying. This year at the Nor'Wester, it was deja vu. Rod Millen took the wraps off a new 4-wheel drive Mazda RX-7. 4-wheel drive is the hot rally setup, and Millen liked the new car's chances against series champ Buffum's Quattro.
I'm hoping just for basically a respectable outing in the car in this rally, and sort of take it from there. Once we start getting some more spares, we can start learning a little more, pushing it a little harder, and finding out a little more about it. But basically, I think it's going to be respectable straight off.
The new car was respectable, all right. Millen charged through the Northwestern woods, winning the first section. Buffum, running under more pressure than he'd felt in a long time, almost pushed too hard, but pulled even with Millen at the end of the second stage. At the meal break, the vice tightened on Buffum. He'd run off the course, damaged the car, fallen half a minute behind his rival Millen. The pressure showed as Motorweek's Bill Wood attempted an interview.
Are you going to be able to repair whatever damage, or was it minor?
I don't know. You have to ask the mechanics when they're through.
How's the new car working? This is a a new one for you.
Yeah, just like the old one. Good.
But the 6-time U.S. champion rose to the occasion. Millen chose the wrong tires in the late stages of the event. Buffum slogged through 6 inches of snow to take the win, and Millen had to settle for second place again. John Woodner got back on track after a series of recent crashes. Production honors to Gene Henderson. The Rally Stars stay in the Northwest this weekend for the Olympus Rally. Now our champion spark plug racer of the week, a driver who gets a lot of mileage out of very few words.
Bob, what's your greatest fear when you're behind the wheel?
Not winning.
That's Bob Tullius, known for his love of English racing cars, but this Jaguar prototype hasn't won since the many-time SCCA champ took it on the Camel GT circuit. That changed last Sunday. Road Atlanta, Tullius and co-driver Bill Adam seeking a goal of nearly a year, a Camel GT win. An on-track collision and a leaking radiator notwithstanding, Group 44 went to victory lane. For a career-long loyalty to a great racing tradition and perseverance, Bob Tullius is our champion racer of the week. Bob's also in the running for a Honda motorcycle that goes to our Racer of the Year. All the hot shots of American drag racing gathered at Atlanta International Dragway this weekend for the Southern Nationals. Complete coverage next week, along with reports on the French Formula One Grand Prix and the Winston Cup Stock Car Wars at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hope you'll join us next Saturday, same time. I'm Dave Despain.